Hello, children. Welcome to Timeless Bible Stories family. Today we're going to tell you an amazing story about a man named Moses. This story is about courage, faith, and the power of God. Are you ready to travel back in time to ancient Egypt? Let's begin. The Israelites lived in Egypt and worked as slaves for the Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. The Pharaoh was very cruel and made a terrible rule. Every baby boy born to the Israelites had to be thrown into the Nile River. One brave mother decided to save her baby. She hid him for 3 months. When she couldn't hide him anymore, she made a basket out of reeds and covered it with tar to keep it waterproof. Then she placed the baby in the basket and set it gently on the river. The baby's sister, Miriam, watched from a distance. As the basket floated along, Pharaoh's daughter came to the river to bathe. She saw the basket and opened it. Inside was the baby, crying. She felt sorry for him and decided to take him as her own. She named him Moses, which means drawn out of the water. Miriam came out of hiding and offered to find a nurse for the baby. Pharaoh's daughter agreed, and Miriam brought their own mother to care for Moses. Moses grew up in the palace but never forgot he was an Israelite. When Moses grew older, he saw how terribly the Israelites were treated. One day he saw an Egyptian beating an Israelite slave. Moses couldn't stand it. He stepped in to help and ended up killing the Egyptian. Moses knew Pharaoh would be angry, so he fled to a land called Midian. There he became a shepherd and started a new life. He married a kind woman named Zipporah and lived quietly. But God had a special plan for Moses. One day, while Moses was taking care of his sheep, he saw something amazing. A bush was on fire, but it wasn't burning up. Moses went closer, and God spoke to him from the bush. "Moses, Moses," God said. Moses replied, "Here I am." God told Moses that he had seen the suffering of the Israelites. He wanted Moses to go back to Egypt and lead his people to freedom. Moses felt scared and said, "Who am I to do this?" God reassured him, saying, "I will be with you." He gave Moses signs to prove his power and promised to help him every step of the way. Moses returned to Egypt, and with his brother Aaron went to Pharaoh. They told him, "Let my people go." But Pharaoh refused. God sent 10 plagues to show his power and convince Pharaoh. Each plague was worse than the last. First, the river turned to blood. Then came frogs, gnats, flies, and sickness for the animals. Hail, locusts, darkness, and boils followed. The final plague was the most terrible of all, the death of the firstborn. Before the last plague, God told the Israelites to prepare a special meal. They marked their doorposts with lamb's blood so the angel of death would pass over their homes. This became known as Passover. Finally, Pharaoh let the Israelites go. They packed their belongings and left quickly. But Pharaoh changed his mind and sent his army after them. The Israelites reached the Red Sea and felt trapped. Pharaoh's army was behind them, and the sea was in front of them. They were terrified, but Moses said, "Do not be afraid. Stand firm and see the deliverance of the Lord." God told Moses to raise his staff over the sea. Suddenly the waters parted, creating a dry path. The Israelites crossed safely. When Pharaoh's army followed, the waters crashed back, and the army was swept away. God had saved his people. After their escape, the Israelites traveled through the wilderness. They often complained, but God provided food and water for them. He sent manna from heaven and made water flow from a rock. At Mount Sinai, God called Moses to the top of the mountain. There he gave Moses the 10 Commandments, important rules to help the Israelites live in a way that pleased God. These rules included honoring God, telling the truth, and treating others kindly. Moses led the Israelites for many years. They faced challenges, but God was always with them. Though Moses didn't enter the promised land himself, he saw it from a distance and knew God's promise would come true. And that's the story of Moses, kids. Remember, God is always with you, just as he was with Moses. Trust him, and he will guide you through anything. Thank you so much for watching the video. Please subscribe my YouTube channel and like and share the video. See you soon.